Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, in a lovely house, nestled in a green forest, there lived a family of 3 bears. There was a big bear, named Papa Bear, a medium-sized bear, named Mama Bear, and a little bear, named Baby Bear. They were a happy bear family who loved each other very much. One sunny morning, Mama Bear decided to make some delicious porridge for breakfast. She carefully prepared 3 bowls of porridge, making sure they were not too hot or too cold, but just right. While the porridge cooled, the bear family decided to go for a walk in the forest to enjoy the beautiful day. As they strolled through the woods, a curious little girl named Goldilocks happened to wander near their house. Goldilocks was a friendly and adventurous girl with long, golden hair that shimmered like sunshine. When she saw the inviting little house, she couldn't resist exploring it. Goldilocks peeked through the window and saw the 3 bowls of porridge on the kitchen table. Her tummy grumbled, and she thought maybe the bears wouldn't mind if she tasted a bit of the porridge. She knocked on the door, but no one answered, so she carefully entered the house. The first bowl of porridge was Papa Bear's. Goldilocks took a small spoonful, but it was too hot. She quickly tried the second bowl, which was Mama Bear's, but it was too cold. Finally, she tasted the third bowl, Baby Bear's porridge, and it was just right. Goldilocks finished the whole bowl, feeling satisfied. Goldilocks looked around the kitchen and saw 3 chairs by the table. She sat in the first chair, Papa Bear's chair, but it was too big and hard for her. She moved to the second chair, Mama Bear's chair, but it was too big and soft, making her sink down. Finally, she sat in the third chair, Baby Bear's chair, and it was just right. Goldilocks felt comfortable and cozy. But as she sat down, the chair suddenly broke, causing Goldilocks to tumble to the floor with a little thud. She knew she had made a mistake, and she felt a bit worried. She decided it might be a good idea to leave the house before anyone came back. Goldilocks ventured into the living room, where she saw 3 beds. She thought maybe she could rest for a moment. She tried the first bed, Papa Bear's bed, but it was too hard and lumpy. The second bed, Mama Bear's bed, was too soft and made her feel like she was sinking. Finally, she lay down on the third bed, Baby Bear's bed, and it was just right. Goldilocks felt snug and cozy, and before she knew it, she fell fast asleep. While Goldilocks was sleeping, the 3 bears returned home from their walk. As they entered the house, they noticed that things were not as they had left them. Mama Bear saw her porridge bowl, and Papa Bear noticed his chair was broken. Baby Bear ran to his bedroom and saw someone sleeping in his bed. The bears were surprised to find a little girl in their house, but they were kind-hearted bears. They realized that Goldilocks must have been very hungry and tired, so they didn't wake her up. Instead, they waited for her to wake on her own. When Goldilocks woke up and saw the 3 bears looking at her, she was a bit scared at first. But the bears smiled kindly and asked her if she was okay. Goldilocks apologized for coming into their house without permission and for breaking Baby Bear's chair. The bears forgave Goldilocks and invited her to join them for some freshly made porridge. This time, Mama Bear made a bowl that was just right for Goldilocks, and they all enjoyed a delicious breakfast together. Goldilocks was so grateful for the bear's kindness that she promised to always ask for permission before entering someone else's house. The bears appreciated her apology, and they were happy to have made a new friend. From that day on, Goldilocks and the three bears became good friends. They often played in the woods together, and Goldilocks would bring them treats she baked with her mother. The bears also taught Goldilocks about the importance of respect and sharing. And so, the little house in the woods was filled with laughter and friendship as Goldilocks and the three bears lived happily ever after, learning valuable lessons about kindness and understanding that would stay with them forever. The 12 Dancing Princesses. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom, there lived 12 princesses. These princesses were not only kind and gentle but also loved to dance. They would dance in the royal gardens during the day and in the grand ballroom at night. Their dresses were like rainbows, and their laughter filled the palace with joy. However, something strange began happening. Every morning, the princesses' shoes were worn out as if they had danced all night long. Yet, they insisted they had been sleeping in their beds. The king, worried for his daughters, announced that anyone who could solve this mystery would marry one of the princesses and become the next king. Many princes from far and wide came to the kingdom, hoping to win the challenge. Yet, night after night, they failed to uncover the secret of the worn-out shoes. The princesses continued to dance in their dreams, and the mystery remained unsolved. One day, a young and clever soldier named Jack heard about the challenge. He decided to try his luck, for he was known for his sharp wit and brave heart. Jack went to the king and asked for a chance to solve the mystery. The king agreed, and Jack was given a room right next to the princess's bedroom. The princesses were curious about the young soldier, but they didn't know what he was planning. Jack knew that, to solve the mystery, he had to stay awake all night and watch the princesses closely. That night, as the clock struck midnight, Jack saw something magical. A hidden door appeared in the princess's bedroom, and the 12 sisters slipped through it, one by one. Jack followed them quietly, being as quiet as a mouse. They walked along a silver path that led them to a beautiful, enchanted forest. In the forest, the trees shimmered with tiny, glowing lights, and the flowers swayed in time with the soft music that filled the air. The princesses danced gracefully, their dresses sparkling under the moonlight. Jack watched in awe, hidden behind a bush. As the night went on, Jack realized that the beautiful forest was a magical place, and the princesses danced with the grace of fairies. He knew he had to find out who was behind this enchantment and why the princesses were being led to this secret place. Jack stayed close to the princesses and followed them every night. On the third night, he saw something extraordinary. A group of fairies appeared, led by a wise and kind fairy named Luna. She was the one who had cast the enchantment on the forest, and the princesses had become her dear friends. Luna explained to Jack that she had met the princesses in their dreams and had brought them to the enchanted forest to dance. The princesses loved dancing with the fairies and cherished the magical moments they shared. Luna saw the princesses' pure hearts and knew they were meant to be friends forever. Jack realized that the worn-out shoes were a result of the princesses dancing in the enchanted forest every night. He also knew that the princess's secret friendship with the fairies was something precious and should be protected. The next morning, Jack went to the king and explained the truth. The king, though surprised, understood that the princesses were safe and happy. He was grateful to Jack for solving the mystery and protecting his daughters. As a reward, the king invited Jack to a grand celebration where the 12 princesses danced and twirled in their beautiful dresses. Luna, the kind fairy, appeared at the celebration, and the kingdom rejoiced in the newfound friendship between the fairies and the royal family. Jack and one of the princesses, the youngest named Lily, had grown very fond of each other during the adventure. They felt a special bond, and the king saw the love in their eyes. He agreed that Jack would make a fine husband for Princess Lily. The kingdom celebrated the joyous wedding of Princess Lily and the clever soldier Jack. The fairies blessed their union, and the enchanted forest became a place where the princesses and the fairies danced together, creating happiness for generations to come. And so, the 12 dancing princesses continued to dance in the enchanted forest, sharing their secret with their loved ones and spreading joy throughout the kingdom. The mystery of the worn-out shoes had been solved, and the kingdom was filled with laughter, love, and the magic of friendship forever after. Snowdrops and the 7 Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a quiet cottage on the edge of a deep forest, lived a kind-hearted young girl named Snowdrops. She had skin as fair as freshly fallen snow, and her eyes sparkled like the brightest stars in the night sky. Snowdrops lived with her loving stepmother, who was not as kind as she should be. One day, Snowdrop's stepmother looked at her with envy. Snowdrops was so beautiful that she felt jealous, and she couldn't bear to have anyone more beautiful than herself around. She decided to send Snowdrops into the deep forest, where she hoped Snowdrops would never return. As the sun rose that morning, Snowdrop's stepmother handed her a basket filled with bread and told her to pick wildflowers in the forest. But deep inside, the stepmother had hidden an evil plan. She hoped that Snowdrops would get lost in the forest and never find her way back. Snowdrops, with a kind heart and a smile on her face, happily accepted the task. She kissed her stepmother on the cheek and set off into the forest, not knowing the wicked intention hidden behind the act of picking wildflowers. As Snowdrops walked deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller, and the path became twisty. She didn't realize that her stepmother had planned for her to get lost. Snowdrops sang a sweet song as she picked the most beautiful wildflowers, filling her basket with their colorful petals. Hours passed, and Snowdrops realized that the forest had become unfamiliar. She felt a pang of worry in her heart, but she kept her spirits high. She knew that her kindness would guide her back home. As Snowdrops wandered through the forest, she heard the sound of hammering and singing. Curious, she followed the sound and soon came upon a cozy little cottage. The door was open, and inside she saw 7 small beds, each with its own tidy arrangement. Snowdrops went inside and found herself in a room filled with warmth and happiness. There she saw 7 friendly dwarfs, each with a joyful smile on their face. The dwarfs were miners, and they worked in the mines nearby, searching for precious gems. The dwarfs welcomed Snowdrops with open arms, and she told them her story. The dwarfs were kind-hearted too, and they decided to let Snowdrops stay with them in the cottage. Snowdrops was overjoyed to find such wonderful friends in the forest. The days passed, and Snowdrops became a part of the dwarf family. She helped them with their chores, cooked delicious meals, and kept the cottage tidy. In return, the dwarfs taught Snowdrops about their world, showing her the beauty of the forest and the magic of the mines. Meanwhile, back at the cottage, Snowdrop's stepmother was not happy. She had expected Snowdrops to be lost forever, but the kind heart of her stepdaughter had led her to new friends and a safe haven. The stepmother couldn't stand the thought of Snowdrops being happy, so she decided to take matters into her own hands. One day, disguised as an old peddler woman, the stepmother made her way to the dwarf's cottage. She knew Snowdrops loved apples, so she brought with her a shiny red apple, but it was no ordinary apple. The wicked stepmother had enchanted it to put Snowdrops into a deep sleep. The stepmother knocked on the door of the cottage, and when Snowdrops opened it, she saw the old peddler woman with the shiny apple. The stepmother told Snowdrops that it was a special apple, and Snowdrops, trusting and kind, took a bite. Immediately, she felt drowsy, and before she could say a word, she fell into a deep slumber. The dwarfs, returning from the mines, were shocked to find Snowdrops asleep, and they knew something was terribly wrong. They searched the forest, looking for the old peddler woman, but she was nowhere to be found. The dwarfs were heartbroken, but they knew they had to protect Snowdrops. They carefully placed her on a beautiful bed made of flowers, hoping that she would wake up soon. They watched over her with loving hearts, wishing for the day when their dear friend would open her eyes once more. Days turned into weeks, and the forest seemed to mourn with the dwarfs, for Snowdrops's presence had brought joy and magic to their world. Then, one day, as the sun rose, Snowdrops began to stir. Her eyes opened, and she looked around, surprised to find herself in a bed of flowers. The dwarfs surrounded her, their faces filled with happiness and relief. Snowdrops smiled, feeling the warmth of their friendship. She realized that her love and kindness had led her to these wonderful friends, and she cherished the time they had spent together. Together, they decided to take action against the wicked stepmother. The dwarfs shared their knowledge of the forest with Snowdrops, and they knew just what to do. They set a clever trap for the stepmother, making sure she would never harm anyone again. When the stepmother returned to the cottage, she was greeted by the dwarfs, who had prepared a special surprise for her. The dwarfs sang a joyful song, and the melody filled the forest. The stepmother, feeling a strange sensation, realized that her wicked deeds had caught up with her. As the song ended, the ground shook, and a magical force appeared, carrying the stepmother away, never to be seen again. The dwarfs and Snowdrops felt a weight lifted from their hearts, knowing that the forest was safe once more. With the wicked stepmother gone, Snowdrops and the dwarfs continued to live in harmony in the forest. They danced, sang, and shared their days with laughter and love. Snowdrops had found a family in the dwarfs, and they all lived happily ever after, spreading kindness, joy, and the magic of friendship throughout the forest.